Our next award is also for raw milk legislation. This award is going to Frank Wallis of the Wyoming Food Freedom Group. Frank Wallis is a full-time farmer in northern Wyoming, and his company, Easy Rocking Ranch, has been marketing local foods in Gillette, Sheridan, and the Buffalo area for over 10 years through farmers markets and direct sales. Frank is involved in helping develop local food systems to help regenerate rural economies in Wyoming and in other states. Frank has been invited to speak at various events, including recently testifying before the Montana legislature regarding developing raw milk access and at the Wyoming gatherings of local food lovers. He was a panelist at the Food Freedom Fest in Virginia this fall to help the local food movement spread nationwide. The Wyoming Food Freedom Act, which became law this spring, was a major success for the local food movement, and one of his main goals is to continue to the development of local foods not only in Wyoming but across the country. He is a member of the Weston A. Price Foundation and of the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund, and tonight accepting the award on his behalf is Pete Kennedy, Frank wanted to say that this award should be accepted on behalf of the many people who lobbied, made phone calls, sent emails, attended the hearings, and testified over the period of many years to have this Wyoming Food Freedom Act enacted in their state. NHFC congratulates him and his team for over 6 years of rigorous work on getting this WFFA, the Wyoming Food Freedom Act, passed into law on March 3rd, earlier this year. And it sets a high bar for the efforts at similar legislation elsewhere across the state, or within the states. And right now, the act that was just passed made it so the production and sale within Wyoming of any food, except for meat products, by a producer direct to the informed end consumer is no longer subject to licensing or inspection. So if Pete would like to come up and talk a little bit about that battle in Wyoming, that'd be great. Thank you.
Frank and Wallis's late sister, Sue, who was a state representative in Wyoming, was the original sponsor of the Wyoming Food Freedom Act back in 2009. And I think she was contacted or either made aware of a post by Bill Marler, who's one of the big foodborne illness, personal injury lawyers in the country, basically saying something to the effect that if this passed, he was going to own lots of farmland in Wyoming. And Sue Wallis basically said, well, bring it on. And it was between 2009 and 2015, the bill was probably introduced 4 or 5 different times. And there was one year where Ange just said the bill that eventually became law did not include meat and products, mainly because of the federal law, the Federal Meat Inspection Act. But there was at least one year I remember where Sue Wallis was going to take that on directly too. Part of the bill she introduced was going to allocate money for the Attorney General to litigate the issue in court if the USDA went after the state of Wyoming for violating the Federal Meat Inspection Act. Probably at least twice that bill passed out of the House, but there was one stumbling block. It would get over to the Senate, and this the Senate Ag Chair was a big ally of agribusiness. He managed to kill it every year until this past year, and he was still in power in this past year. But there was a freshman representative there, Tyler Lindholm, who just, according to Frank, did a great job steering the bill through. It went to this chair's committee again, but he was outvoted by his own committee, a 3-2 vote, and it was clear sailing from there. And it's kind of set people on fire in other states. We've had, I think, inquiries in about 10 different states since, with people interested in passing food freedom legislation. We'll see what happens once the session rolls around, but Virginia has introduced a bill similar for the past 3 years. The Maine almost passed a bill this past year. It got out of both the House and Senate, but it was just someone, agency posted a fiscal note, and the this finance committee shot the bill down. But it mainly, I mean, it's the gold standard, this Wyoming bill right now. Next year, they're going to do something with meat ingredients where as long as it was processed, the meat was processed at an inspected facility, someone can sell beef stew or a similar product without any regulation. But I think this is what, you know, we're all about at this conference. I was a delegate at the first couple conferences in 2 and 3 years ago, but and the foodie groups are outnumbered here. It's us, Weston Price, Farm and Ranch Freedom Alliance, but we all believe in the principle that we're the ones who determine what we put in our bodies, not the government. And if it's a direct transaction between farmer and consumer, it's none of the government's business. We have that right. So let's hope this is the start of a number of bills to come.